Would you date a trans woman as a lesbian?
Yeah.
With a
Yeah.
How would you define if somebody is a girl or a guy, or isn't a girl or a guy?
If they say so.
Hey guys, I'm back with my friend Arielle Scarcella for another bonus video. Arielle, you got yourself kicked out of another Pride event.
No, just the one.
Okay,
I almost
just
got
the
kicked
one.
out of Australia as a country. And I definitely did get kicked out of Palm Beach Pride last week.
What
so.
happened?
Well, originally, I got, for those people who don't know, I'm a lesbian, and I am anti-leftist, if you will. I'm not like fully on the right. I actually pretty much agree with everything that you say all the time. I think you and I have, no, we do. I think we have almost like the exact same views, which is nice. Make me not feel crazy. And I went to Palm Beach Pride to film, and they literally, I'm not even kidding, within 20 seconds of me starting to film something, they came up to me and said, "You do not have a media pass." And I said, "You're correct. You caught me. Like, what do you want me to say?" And they're like, "You have to leave."
Need a media pass at a public Pride event.
Apparently this one you did. And I said, "Why do I need a media pass when I have, people's consent? It's not like I'm just walking around filming random people. Like, I have their consent." No. We need to vet our people to protect them. This is literally what they said. They then kicked me out. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to film, outside." They said, "Yeah, the free speech corner is over there."
Sorry, what? The free speech corner?
They literally said the free speech corner is over there and pointed to the sidewalk.
Bitch, the free speech corner is this entire country.
It's the entire country, right? But I guess I couldn't really say anything because they did have a permit for the park.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, I stood, my ass stood literally on the exact, like if this was the end of the park, I stood right there.
Yeah. So you were able to get some interesting content. Then you also went to another event. We're going to react to some clips from this one where you interviewed people at like a comic book superhero convention.
Yeah.
What was this exactly?
It was like 50% leftists, 50% not leftists. But of course, I'm always going to interview the crazy people.
Yeah. And
it makes for better content. Let's be real. But
it wasn't like an LGBT themed event, but a lot of the people there were somewhere in the Wi-Fi password, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was definitely the impression I got. And look, these people, a lot of them seem sweet and just kind of confused. So we're going to be nice to them, but I do want to talk about a couple things you stumbled on because I think they represent broader problems with a lot of people in the LGBT community and a lot of young people and how they think about these issues. Like this first clip.
What's your sexual orientation? Are you gay? Are you straight? Are you lesbian?
Lesbian.
Your sexual orientation?
Oh, pansexual. Yeah. Pansexual, so yeah.
What about you?
Whatever the blanket of gay is.
The blanket of gay. Would you date a trans person?
I would.
Would you date a trans woman as a lesbian?
Yeah.
With a
Yeah.
How do you guys identify sexual orientation-wise?
Bisexual.
Bi. How about you?
Bi.
You like women. Would you date a trans woman? A trans guy, trans girl? Doesn't matter?
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter to me.
You would date a trans guy or a trans woman?
I just think it's
pansexual. Pan?
Yeah, it's just based on the personality.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of pan people here for some reason. I wonder if that's like a theme here.
about the person. We only have our vessel for so long, the soul lasts longer, and why be so? Yeah, why not just try and find your person?
I would agree, but I wish I could find men attractive. I can't. I tried.
A genuine connection, and I guess we'd see where that goes.
And you said you're bi. Would you date a trans person? Would you date a trans man or a trans woman?
Yeah.
You too?
Yeah.
And you identify as a trans woman, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it makes sense to me that if you're somebody who's bi or pansexual, which I just think is spicy bi, that you would date a trans woman. The one thing that stuck out to me, though, is I'm a lesbian and I would date a trans woman, not just any trans woman, a trans woman with a penis. At some point, words do have to have meanings. And if the definition of lesbian encompasses people who date people with penises, I think we've lost the plot.
We 100% have. The funny thing is, I don't think it was in that video that we just saw, but eventually I did get that person to admit that they were more pansexual.
Oh, so...
But the fact that they said that they were a lesbian to begin with worries me, because if you would have sex, like, there's a difference, in my opinion, between dating someone despite them having a specific genitalia, because you might not ever have to interact with that genitalia. But if you are interacting with it and seeing it and still attracted to it, then to me, you're not gay. You're not a lesbian.
Well, for
Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
It does. AI is the future, and content creation is no exception. If you're a creator or you've ever wanted to get in on the game, well, it's never been easier, thanks to today's sponsor, Opus Clip. Finding the right moments from your long-form videos to clip for short-form content is really hard, and editing them down into the perfect reels that can go viral is so much work. Or at least it used to be before I discovered Opus Clip. Clip Anything is their newest AI-powered feature, providing creators with unmatched control to find and clip the best moments in our videos. For example, I put one of my recent videos in, and it pulled out a perfect moment for me to share as a short-form video, edited and analyzed for peak viral impact. Look, if you want to support tariffs, if you want to say the stock market doesn't matter, I disagree with you on both fronts, but we can have that debate if you're actually holding those positions. But that's not what people like Benny Johnson are doing. They're just flip-flopping. Clip Anything's time-saving AI capabilities are astounding. From B-roll generation to reframing to filler word removal to one-click audio enhancement. Get started on your content journey now. Just visit www.opus.pro/clipanything. It's really never been easier. But for me, the fundamental question comes down to what's the definition of sexual orientation? And is it about sex or is it about gender identity? And I believe it's about sex, not gender identity. Yeah, it's about
sexual attraction.
Now, it is a little more complicated, as you've pointed out, because the fact that a heterosexual man might look at a trans woman who passes very well and be attracted to them doesn't make that person gay. Even if technically it's a biological male who's attracted to a biological male, it is more messy and more nuanced. Yes. But like fundamentally, we can't just have the word lesbian mean anything, because then it means nothing. And these activist groups have tried to redefine it to a non-man loving a non-man. And at some point, I just wish maybe this is the one instance where like queer is okay, though I think bi or pan would really capture it.
I think any of those three terms would be fine, and not just keep lesbian for people that are strictly women that are dating other women that are
female, lesbian.
That's it.
Leave it. Stop trying to push other things into it. It's not just this one person who just seems a little confused. This is a bigger thing.
This is a way bigger thing. I actually remember I was at New York City Pride. I think it was, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. And every single white person that I interviewed was super woke, and every single black person was like, these people need help. They were literally, there was one girl that was there that was literally like, pick a struggle.
That's awesome. I can't say that surprises me, though. I shouldn't be surprised by this, but the non-binary representation at this like comic book convention, superhero convention, was off the charts. Yet at the same time, many of these people who do identify as they, them, didn't really seem to be able to articulate what that meant. Let's take a look at this next clip.
How do you identify?
They, them.
Oh, there you go. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Do you guys identify as they, thems?
Yes.
You're they, them?
I do, yes.
What does it they, them mean?
Single.
Single? I thought you were dating somebody. How are you single and dating somebody? What does they, them mean to you? Like,
for me, it means that I don't have to express myself in any sort of specific way. I've never felt leaning towards woman or male.
I guess it depends on what you mean by that, but you know, they, them, to me just means I don't really identify with any gender.
What do you think a they, them is?
That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that question.
It's like, what does that mean?
A person.
Someone who isn't a girl or a guy.
They're whoever they want to be.
How would you define if somebody is a girl or a guy, or isn't a girl or a guy?
If they say so.
What is it, they, them? Do you go by they, them pronouns?
No.
What pronouns do you use?
She, her.
Oh, she, her. Okay, what about you?
For me, I just don't really feel like I associate with my body, so that's the easiest way.
Someone that doesn't want to be acknowledged as either. Like, they kind of can do both and do whatever they want and just don't want society to say like, oh, well, this makes you female, this makes you male.
I love it how like the one potential actual transsexual person who may not be, but was like, yeah, I'm just a she, her.
Yeah. Well, what's sad about this to me is I've always thought the non-binary thing makes no sense, relies on sexist stereotypes, but this one young woman who says she's a they, them, literally said it's because I don't identify with my body and like I feel disconnected from my body. And I'm like, listen, my heart breaks for you. That's something a lot of people struggle with. But that is like and I say this with no stigma, that is a mental illness. Like
That's
that is an
that's
issue.
trauma. Yeah,
Yeah, there's some
that's
issue that you should
potentially
seek
trauma
treatment
and
for.
potentially mental illness, and a lot of the times both.
Yeah.
One stemming from the other. Yeah.
But it's not a cute identity. It's not like just another category like LGBTQ, something like you're not supposed to feel like that.
Right.
You shouldn't hate your body. And then the other ones who are like, well, it just means you're whatever you feel like. You don't feel like male, feel like female.
It's just a person. It's just a person who found themselves.
I like the one that was like, it means you're single.
I was like, you just told me you're dating somebody. What do you mean you're single?
Not a lot of sense being made.
No,
to me, it's an unfortunate conflation of biology and personality. I think what they mean is their personality, but they are conflating that with terms like male and female, which refer to biology. And you don't get to choose your biology. Biology is not a choose your own adventure book. Like these people are all male or female, unless they are some like extremely rare genetic exception of intersex condition or something. But by and large, they're all male or female. And whether they don't feel male or feel female doesn't mean they're not. They still are. If they
It's also sexist. You know what I mean? To say like, well, I don't feel male or feel female. Like, what does that even mean? Like when I encounter the majority of these quote non-binary people, I would say 95% of them, the ones that aren't actually mentally ill and struggling with some kind of trauma that don't relate to their body, which could relate into some gender dysphoria that might make them trans in some way. The majority of them simply just don't respond well or relate to gender expression or gender roles. But like that was the entire point of feminism, was like women can be anything, men can be anything. You don't have to not be a woman or not be a man because you're a different type of man or a different type of woman. Like they don't see the difference between like gender expectations and gender identity, maybe. Like to them it's the same thing, but to us it's the opposite. Like to us it's not the same thing.
Okay to be a
it should
woman
be okay to be a masculine woman or a feminine man. To them it's like if you're a more feminine man, you must be non-binary.
Yeah, or you can't be a man. Or maybe you're a trans woman, but like actually it's okay to be a hyper feminine man. And the ones who would say that also, then it's like, well, then at that point, what is a man? Like it's just a meaningless concept. If it's not biology, and unless you're doing sex stereotypes, you don't really have another definition of it. It's all just kind of made up and meaningless. And at some point, and I think you were trying to flesh this out with this next clip, that does imperil the idea of sexual orientation. If all of this is just made up, then the kind of ground that what it means to be gay, to be homosexual is like built on starts to crumble. Take a listen to this clip, everybody.
How many genders are there?
Honestly, you're asking me that, and I have no idea.
How do you identify?
They, them.
Oh, there you go. If gender is made up, is sexual orientation made up?
I wouldn't say so.
How can you not define one without being able to define the other?
Well, I do know that sexual orientation is more so like what you're interested in versus gender is what you're feeling on the inside.
Right, but in order to be interested in somebody, they have to be a certain thing.
These kids aren't making any sense. They're not making any sense.
You ate with that last line.
Yeah, they're basically saying that you can be attracted to the way somebody identifies, which is not true.
Inside. What?
Which is not true, because if that were the case, I had dated a quote trans man. This is like 15 years ago, right? They were not out as trans. I don't know if they knew they were trans. They were not transitioned in any way. They told me they were a lesbian. I was attracted to that person. Does that mean I'm bisexual? Because if that were the case, I was attracted to them and they were a man. But that's not true. You can't be attracted to the way somebody feels inside. You're just attracted to a body. Like that's the first thing of physical attraction. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's based in biology and properties of biology, right? Like
primary and secondary,
which can be kind of meddled with, like we talked about, right? It's not 100% set in stone. Even occasionally, I'll be scrolling and I'll see somebody who I think is attractive, and I'll find out, oh, that's like a trans guy. It doesn't mean that I'm attracted to women or females, really. And it doesn't mean that I would actually be attracted to them. But attraction is about physical attraction and biology, not about how you feel inside.
Right.
Because the problem is how you feel inside can change and is subjective.
Exactly.
And our whole point was that you can't change your sexual orientation. But if it's all about just how people feel inside, well, you can change that. So it
People
kind of
do.
undercuts a lot of the pillars that gay rights were literally built on.
Yep. And what about these people that are saying that they're one gender one day and then a different gender the next day? Does that mean my sexual orientation, if I'm still
If you're
attracted to them,
attracted to them.
it's also shifting? Like that's such a narcissistic concept that because of how you feel, it can change the way other people identify or have to identify, or like who like their sexual orientation. Like that's nuts.
I think the upside of this is that a lot of these young people seem to have not thought this through all that fully, which in my view also means they can be reached. Like spoiler alert for people who are going to listen to my podcast every day. I solicited voice notes from people in my audience, and they were telling me all their stories, and I went over them in an episode that will come out, I think, in a few days by the time this airs. One of them told me how like she was a tomboy and her school guidance counselors and teachers were trying to tell her she was trans. And she realized that she wasn't by watching my content and other people's content. I think she mentioned Buck Angel.
Good.
And it's like these young people, a lot of them aren't actually hardcore brainwashed in an ideology.
No, they just don't know. They
just haven't thought it through. And that was so clear from this next clip.
How many genders are there? Are you gay or straight?
Yes.
That you're bi?
Yeah.
How many genders are there?
Unlimited.
Unlimited.
That's a fantastic question. I wish I could tell you.
Can you name 5?
He, she, they.
Those are pronouns, not genders.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
So I know you have he, him, she, her, they, them.
Those are pronouns. How many genders are there? Can you name 5 genders?
I wouldn't have like a name for any of them, but I just think like none of it really matters. Just however many you want there to be. It's a spectrum, yeah.
Male, female, non-binary.
You have no idea?
No idea.
Ace is orientation, so it's not a...
I can't keep up with it all, but...
What do you think about the fact that Trump said that there's only 2 legal genders now, male and female?
I think he's completely wrong.
I think it's between you and your medical professional. Like your medical professional should know what you were born as, but other than that, it's no one's business. Like you can identify as whatever you want to identify as, and it doesn't need to be that big of a deal.
I think, like you said, the majority of these people aren't nuts, right? They're just lost. They don't want to. They don't have the ability, or I guess the balls, to be like you and I, and go against the grain, right? A lot of them are queer, or they're just allies, and they don't know or even care to like actually think things through or think about this and how it doesn't make any sense, or how it's actually ruining our acceptance, right?
I related to that one guy who was like, I can't keep up with it all anymore. I'm like, you and me both, sir. You and me both. I also think it's funny how they were conflating things like pronouns, sexualities, biological sexes when you ask what genders are. It's like they didn't even understand the question, but felt strongly that there are unlimited genders, and Trump is totally wrong, but also I can't name them. It's like, pick a struggle, bro.
No, they can't. Even at West Palm Pride, the next Pride event I went to that I got kicked out of, whenever I was asking people to name genders, they couldn't. They kept naming pronouns, and I said, pronouns aren't genders. Name genders. They couldn't. The only person that could was possibly that one transsexual person, maybe who's just a woke transsexual, but even that person could only name like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't get
There's
it.
There's unlimited. Can't name 5 though.
Yeah, if there's unlimited, it shouldn't be hard to name 5.
It shouldn't. It should not. And it's just it's crazy. I think that was one of my
I could
better.
name 5, even though I don't think they're real.
Same. I could name 5 too.
Man, woman, non-binary, agender,
Gender
two-spirit.
flux, gender fluid, demi-girl, demi-boy. That's like 7 right there.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Tri-gender.
Oh, season.
Gender season.
Yeah, gender season.
Fairy gender.
Well,
You see the girl's like, I'm a fairy.
Hopefully some of these people and others in the LGBT community can be exposed to more of our content and realize that it's good to be open-minded, but not so open-minded that your brain falls out.
We can only hope, honestly.
All right, guys, be sure to check out Arielle's channel. I'll link to it in the description below. Thanks again for joining me, and try not to get kicked out of any more events.
I'm gonna have to have you as my bodyguard at the next one.
Well, yeah. Once I move to Miami,
we'll
collaborate in person.
Yes.